Hey everyone, welcome back to What's Inside. So this is now episode 3 of our season 4 series of everyday electronic items. So in today's video, I'm pretty excited to share with you guys. I decided to dissect a paper shredder. And as the name sort of tells you what its function, it's pretty self-explanatory. You put the paper inside of the shredder and it shreds the paper and then you can discard it later. And so this is just what it looks like right now. This is the trash bin. This is the main component where it receives the paper and then shreds it. It has many components like the sensor, the motor, and I'm going to take a deeper dive into these components in the next section of our video. Hey everyone, welcome to the analysis section of our video. This is kind of our setup. I'm filming this in my garage. So as you can see here, there's the trash bin. This is where the paper is going to collect when it's shredded. And then this is the stuff that we are talking about. As you can see here, there's a lot of components here. This is the nitty-gritty type of stuff. And so, yeah, let's get into how this actually works. So the function of this, it cuts paper into strips or like cross-cut particles for secure disposal. And the main idea is that it has an electric motor, also has gear reduction, cutting cylinders, and also a safety control. And that's pretty crucial when you have something like this because it can be pretty dangerous if you expose yourself to the blades when it's shredding the paper. And we don't want that. And that's why they had the fail-safes that are put into place for these types of appliances. And so a quick overview is that we have many pieces. So we have, this is the electric motor. This is what it's going to power up the shredder. That's what is when it receives signal from a sensor, it will tell the motor, oh, hey, this is paper, we need to shred it. And that's what the motor does. It helps to spin the gear. We also have these cutting rollers. So these are the things that are actually going to physically shred the paper. When you put the paper in there, from the motor that spins the gear spins the motors, which cuts the paper. And we also have the control PCB, as you can see from the video, the shredder. It's this green board, as many of you guys have seen in other videos. So I'm probably deciding to make a video on that later because this is just a quick rundown of these pieces because you can see there's so many parts here, right? And we also have the gear train. Like I was mentioning, we have some gears over here. And these are pretty important because it's pretty important to maintain precise controlled movements of the paper shredder because you don't want the motor to run very quickly. If it runs too quickly, you are wasting energy and you're wasting battery, which reduces the life of the shredder. And we want it to be as efficient and as sustainable as possible. We also have some other things like these sensors. Those are pretty important because when you are putting the paper into it, it's going to detect it and it's going to shred it. And going back to the idea of being efficient, if it isn't detecting paper and it's spinning the motor, this is creating a lot of energy loss, which will reduce the battery life. And moving on, so I do want to give some quick overview so it can be some sort of like educational. So we have these cutting cylinders over here. You can tell they're cylindrical shapes. They're in parallel with one another. And so what they do is that they pull paper inward automatically. Once they detect it from the sensor, they will shear the paper using these sharp interlocking blades. And also they cross-cut the model slice both vertically and horizontally. And I can show you guys what they look like. So this is the front. As you can see here, here's where you put the paper into it. And the sensors in here will detect the paper and send it to the PCB, which sends it to the motor and eventually the cylinders to shred it. And so this is what it looks like. I've used it a couple times in the past. Oops. Yeah, this is the interlocking blades of the paper shredder. How do I do this bad, guys? Okay, yes, this will do for now. I'll fix it in a minute. So you know what they do? They rotate toward each other. Once the paper enters, the teeth grabbing and force it through the cutting edges, like I showed you guys a couple seconds ago. And we also have like the motor, so it powers the or spins the gears, which spin the blades more accurately. We also have the gear reduction center, which is just this like the train that I was telling you guys about. See, it's a gear here. This spins, this spins, this spins, and then the blades spin, which is pretty interesting. And so this also connects some basic fundamental concepts in physics. It controls the torque, which is like the twisting force, and it synchronizes both the cutting shafts, which moves from high speed, low torque becomes low speed, and then high torque again. And so we also have the PCB right here. This is kind of like the heart or the brain of the component as well. So it controls all of the inner workings of all these components here. It sends signals to say, hey motor, spin now. Oh, I got it from the sensor. Hey sensor, thank you for detecting the paper. Motor, now it's time for you to spin. And so that's what it's doing right there. It helps to control, like I said, control the motor power. It handles like the forward and the reverse. So there is like forward and reverse mode, because if paper gets stuck, it needs to reverse to get it unstuck. And it probably has resistors and capacitors, like I was telling you guys about, which resist the current in the PCB. Capacitors store energy, which is pretty important for, like, there's some components that need more energy than others. So it needs to store some energy to power it at different times. And we also have sensors and switches, which also, like I said, it detects the paper to be shredded, but also for the fail-safe system. So it's mainly in this component here, denoted by like the wires, and also it's connected to the PCB. And so it automatically starts shredding when the paper is inserted, and it stops if the bin is removed. Like I said, the reverse function, it clears the jams. Also, a quick rundown, like why it's made in plastic. It's pretty efficient to make. And also we have like a heavy metal plate underneath the cutters. So it's like here. So these keep them aligned, and it would be pretty detrimental if they weren't aligned. And absorbs some vibration, also prevents flexing under the load. And so, yeah, there are many other components. Like the PCB, it has so many different components and sensors that I would like to cover in this video, but we don't have that much time. And also the motor, how the motor works, the inner workings. I want to get the specific model and tell you guys about it. Also the cylinders and the wires and the gears and all these other components. But we simply do not have enough time in this video alone. I want to keep this video relatively short. But yeah, if you guys do want to see more content like this, feel free to shoot a comment down below. Yeah, I hope you guys learned something new. Remember to stay curious, because that's what's inside.